Ladies and gentlemen, we admire talent. We place it on pedestals, marveling at its effortless brilliance. We whisper about the prodigy who paints at 5, the mathematician who solves equations in his sleep, the musician who never needed a lesson. But talent, raw, untouched, unsharpened, is nothing more than a block of marble. Beautiful, perhaps, full of potential, certainly, but useless until shaped by the chisel of discipline. Now contrast this with obsession. Obsession does not wait for inspiration. It does not rely on luck. It does not sit idly hoping for a spark of genius. No, obsession is the craftsman who rises before dawn, chiseling away at that marble with bloody hands and weary eyes. Obsession returns to its work even when exhausted, even when uninspired, even when every voice in the world says, "Rest." Talent is a flickering candle. Obsession is an unrelenting fire, and fire wins every time. History is not written by the merely gifted. It is written by those who refuse to stop, the authors who rewrote their manuscripts 100 times, the inventors who failed 1,000 times before succeeding once, the athletes who trained in the darkness while others slept. Talent may set the stage, but obsession performs the play. So let us rid ourselves of the illusion that greatness is given freely. It is not. It is forged in the crucible of relentless effort. The question, then, is not whether you are talented. The question is, are you willing to be obsessed? Because obsession beats talent. Every time. Talent alone is insufficient. It is a deceptive gift, often mistaken for a guarantee of success. From an early age we admire those who seem naturally gifted, the child who plays the piano without lessons, the student who grasps complex equations without effort, the athlete who outruns peers without training. We assume that such talent will carry them to greatness, that their innate ability is a prophecy of inevitable success. But talent, no matter how remarkable, is an empty promise without the discipline to shape it into something enduring. The world is filled with stories of those who were once seen as prodigies, only to fade into obscurity. They began with an advantage, a natural head start, but over time, that edge became meaningless. Why? Because talent alone does not teach persistence. It does not teach the ability to withstand failure, to endure the slow, grueling process of mastery. Without effort, talent stagnates. It remains an untapped well, full of potential but yielding nothing. Those who rely solely on talent often become complacent. Accustomed to early praise, they do not develop the resilience required when challenges arise. Hard work, on the other hand, demands growth. It forces improvement through repetition, through struggle, through an unyielding commitment to progress. The person who lacks natural ability but dedicates themselves to their craft will eventually surpass the gifted individual who takes their skill for granted. This is why the most accomplished musicians are not always the ones who showed the most promise as children. It is why the greatest athletes are often those who trained with unwavering discipline, not just those who were born fast or strong. The difference lies in persistence. Talent without work is like an unsharpened blade. It may have the potential to cut, but without refinement it is useless. Consider the sculptor faced with a block of marble. Natural ability may grant him an eye for form, a sense of proportion, an instinct for beauty, but if he does not pick up the chisel and labor over his creation, his talent means nothing. The marble will remain untouched, its potential wasted. The sculptor who lacks that innate gift but dedicates himself to practice, study, and relentless effort will carve something far greater than the naturally skilled artist who does not put in the work. The world rewards those who refuse to stop. It is not enough to be good, one must be willing to become great. And greatness is built, not bestowed. The most successful individuals understand that consistency is more valuable than raw ability. They wake up before dawn, practice when uninspired, work when others rest. They push past failures, recognizing that every setback is a lesson rather than a defeat. It is this mindset, the mindset of relentless effort, that determines success. Some might argue that talent makes the journey easier, that it provides a foundation upon which success can be built. But a foundation is worthless without a structure, and building that structure requires effort, patience, and an unshakable will. The most talented individuals in the world will always be surpassed by those who outwork them. In the end, talent is nothing without the will to use it. Obsession breeds discipline in a way that nothing else can. It is the force that keeps a person moving long after motivation fades, long after the excitement of a new challenge has worn off. While discipline is often seen as a matter of willpower, of forcing oneself to do what must be done, true discipline is not born out of obligation but out of an unshakable need to pursue something with relentless focus. Obsession creates that need. It transforms work from a duty into a necessity, from something that requires effort into something that feels inevitable. Those who are obsessed do not have to remind themselves to show up, to practice, to refine their craft. They do so because they cannot imagine doing otherwise. Discipline is difficult when the mind resists, when the body is unwilling, when there is no deeper reason to continue beyond external pressure. But obsession removes that resistance. It makes effort feel natural, even effortless. The writer who is obsessed with storytelling does not struggle to find time to write, they struggle to tear themselves away from the page. The athlete obsessed with their sport does not dread training, they crave it. The scientist obsessed with discovery does not count the hours spent in the lab, they lose themselves in the work. This is why obsession produces the most disciplined individuals, not because they have stronger willpower than others, but because they have found something that consumes them so completely that discipline is no longer a question of effort, but of inevitability. Many believe that discipline is something that must be forced, that it requires constant self-control, constant reminders to stay on track. Constant reminders to stay on track. This kind of discipline is fragile. It is dependent on external reinforcement, on structured schedules and routines that feel like a burden. The discipline that comes from obsession, however, is unbreakable. It does not need to be maintained because it is self-sustaining. The musician who is obsessed with mastering their instrument does not need to be reminded to practice. They would feel incomplete if they did not. The entrepreneur obsessed with their vision does not need external motivation to work late into the night. Their mind is already consumed with the next step, the next challenge, the next breakthrough. Obsession also eliminates excuses. Those who are merely interested in something will find reasons to postpone, to delay, to avoid discomfort. They will wait for inspiration, for the right conditions, for the perfect moment. But those who are obsessed cannot wait. They do not need the perfect conditions because their commitment is independent of circumstances. They do not require inspiration because their obsession itself is fuel enough. They work in the dark, in the cold, in discomfort, because they are compelled to do so. It is not about enjoyment or suffering. It is about necessity. The power of obsession is that it turns what seems like sacrifice into something natural. Those who are disciplined through mere willpower often feel deprived, as though they are giving something up in order to succeed. They count the cost of every hour spent working, of every social event missed, of every comfort abandoned. But those who are obsessed do not see these things as sacrifices at all. They are not giving up anything. They are simply choosing what matters most to them. To an outsider, their discipline may seem extreme, even punishing, but to them it is not a hardship, it is simply the way things must be. Obsession does not just create discipline, it makes discipline effortless. It removes hesitation, eliminates doubt, and replaces fleeting motivation with something far more powerful. Those who are obsessed do not ask themselves whether they will continue. They do not debate whether the effort is worth it. They do not struggle against themselves, trying to summon the will to do what needs to be done. They simply do it. Because for them, there is no other choice. Effort outlasts natural ability because talent, no matter how extraordinary, is powerless without the endurance to sustain it. The world is filled with gifted individuals who never reach their potential, not because they lack the ability, but because they lack the commitment to nurture and refine it. Natural ability provides an advantage, a head start, but it is not enough to carry someone through the long and arduous journey of mastery. Those who succeed at the highest level are not always the most talented. They are the ones who persist when others stop, who continue to push forward when the excitement of early success fades, who refuse to let failure define them. Talent is fleeting if not developed. It may provide early victories, easy achievements, and moments of effortless success, but without continuous effort it will plateau. The athlete who coasts on natural strength will eventually be outperformed by the one who trains relentlessly. The writer who once crafted beautiful sentences with ease but never studied the craft will be surpassed by the one who writes, revises, and refines every single day. The entrepreneur with a brilliant idea but no dedication to execution will be left behind by the one who works tirelessly to bring their vision to life. Effort does not just match talent, it surpasses it. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who do not is not found in raw ability, but in the willingness to endure the struggle of improvement. True mastery is not a product of luck or innate skill. It is the result of thousands of hours of work, of failures turned into lessons, of repetition that transforms weakness into strength. There is a reason why so many talented people fall short, while those who are relentless rise to the top. The ones who work the hardest develop resilience. They learn how to overcome obstacles, how to push through frustration, how to improve even when progress feels invisible. They do not wait for inspiration or rely on their natural gifts to carry them. They put in the work every single day, knowing that persistence will take them further than talent ever could. The world often celebrates talent, praising those who display effortless brilliance. But it is effort that creates lasting success. A talented person who does not work hard is like a candle with no fuel. It may shine brightly for a moment, but it will not last. Meanwhile, the person who puts in consistent effort builds something that cannot be extinguished. They develop skills that endure, habits that sustain them, and a mindset that keeps them moving forward, no matter how difficult the road becomes. Talent may open doors, but effort is what keeps them open. There is an undeniable truth that separates those who achieve from those who merely dream. The ones who put in the most effort, who refuse to stop even when the odds seem stacked against them, will always outlast those who rely only on talent. The reason is simple: effort compounds. Every hour spent practicing, every challenge overcome, every failure learned from adds up over time. The results may not be immediate, but they are inevitable. Talent without work remains static, while effort creates momentum. It builds strength, knowledge, and experience that no natural ability can match. Those who succeed in any field are not necessarily the ones who were gifted from birth. They are the ones who showed up every day, who worked when no one was watching, who embraced struggle rather than avoided it. They understood that talent is only an opportunity, not a guarantee. And in the end, it is those who refuse to quit, those who keep pushing long after the talented ones have given up, who stand victorious. Effort does not just level the playing field, it ensures that those who are willing to work the hardest will always rise above those who rely on talent alone. History does not remember those who started strong but gave up when things became difficult. It remembers those who endured. Many of the world's greatest achievements came from individuals who were told they would never succeed. Scientists whose theories were dismissed, writers whose works were rejected, leaders who were doubted at every turn. All of them could have accepted failure and faded into obscurity. But they did not. They pressed forward, sometimes with nothing but their own belief in what they were doing, and because they did, their names and their work outlived them. Their relentless pursuit of their vision changed the world. The relentless are not always the ones who begin with the most promise. They are not always the ones who start with an advantage. Many of them begin with nothing, no connections, no special gifts, no reason to believe they will succeed other than their own refusal to quit. But what they lack in talent or resources, they make up for in sheer determination. They are willing to outwork, outlast, and outfight those who take their talent for granted. While others grow weary, they continue. While others surrender to doubt, they push through. It is this persistence, this unwillingness to accept anything less than success, that ultimately sets them apart. The world does not reward hesitation. It does not favor those who wait for the perfect moment or seek guarantees before they act. It rewards those who move forward despite uncertainty, those who take risks, those who put in the work without any promise of recognition. The relentless are the ones who build empires, write history, and redefine what is possible. They are the ones who push past the limits set by others, who refuse to be confined by expectations, who understand that the only true failure is giving up. Time erases those who stop, who waver, who let fear dictate their actions. but it elevates those who refuse to be forgotten, those who leave behind something greater than themselves. The relentless do not wait for fate to decide their path, they carve it themselves, through sweat, sacrifice, and an unbreakable will. They are the ones who take the blows, endure the storms, and rise again and again until the world has no choice but to remember their names. History does not belong to those who were gifted or lucky. It belongs to those who simply refuse to quit. Obsession fuels consistency because it creates an unshakable force that drives action, regardless of circumstances, emotions, or obstacles. Those who rely on motivation alone find themselves struggling when enthusiasm fades, but those who are obsessed do not need motivation. Their passion is so deeply ingrained that stopping is not an option. They wake up thinking about their pursuit, they fall asleep planning their next step, and in between, they work relentlessly. Their minds are wired to move forward, not in bursts of inspiration, but in a steady, unyielding march toward mastery. Consistency is what separates those who succeed from those who merely wish for success. Many people start with excitement, setting goals and imagining great achievements, but when progress slows, when challenges arise, or when boredom sets in, they falter. Their initial passion fades and they look for new distractions, new pursuits, new sources of excitement. But obsession keeps a person locked in. It does not allow them to drift from one thing to another, always chasing novelty. Instead, it forces them to return to the same task again and again, long after the excitement has worn off. Obsession eliminates the option of quitting. It removes the internal debate over whether to continue, because there is no question continuation is inevitable. The most successful individuals in any field are not necessarily the most talented, nor are they the ones who found the easiest path. They are the ones who never stop. Obsession ensures that progress is not dependent on mood, convenience, or ideal conditions. It demands action, even on the worst days, even when exhaustion sets in, even when results seem distant. The artist obsessed with their craft does not wait for inspiration. They paint, they draw, they create, because they cannot imagine doing otherwise. The athlete obsessed with improvement does not train only when they feel like it. They push themselves daily because they know that stopping is not an option. The entrepreneur obsessed with their vision does not pause when setbacks arise. They adapt, they refine, they continue, because the thought of giving up is inconceivable. Consistency is often misunderstood as a simple habit, something that can be forced through willpower alone. But true consistency, the kind that leads to greatness, is not a burden. It is a natural byproduct of obsession. When someone is deeply obsessed, they do not count the hours spent working. They do not struggle to find the energy to continue. They do not wonder whether they should persist. They simply do. Their pursuit is not a task to be completed. It is a fundamental part of who they are. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack the ability to keep going when progress is slow and results are invisible. The world is full of those who started strong, but faded before they ever reached their potential. They became discouraged, distracted, or simply unwilling to endure the repetition necessary for mastery. Obsession, however, does not allow for inconsistency. It does not tolerate stagnation. It demands daily effort, daily learning, daily refinement. It turns practice into a necessity rather than a choice. Those who are obsessed do not require external motivation, nor do they depend on fleeting moments of inspiration. They work because they must. They improve because they cannot stop. Consistency is not about forcing oneself to act. It is about being unable to do anything else. Obsession ensures that a person stays on the path long after others have given up, long after the excitement has faded, long after obstacles have piled up. It is the reason why some individuals continue when everyone else has stopped, and that is why they succeed. Greatness is not given but forged through struggle, discipline, and an unyielding refusal to accept mediocrity. It is not a gift bestowed upon a select few, nor is it something that can be inherited or stumbled upon by chance. Greatness is built slowly and deliberately through years of effort, failure, and relentless pursuit. It is not found in moments of comfort or ease, but in the long, grueling process of self-improvement. Those who achieve greatness are not those who wait for opportunity or rely on talent alone, but those who shape themselves into something greater through sheer force of will. The illusion of natural greatness has led many to believe that success is predetermined, that some are simply born to achieve while others are destined to fall short. But history does not support this belief. The individuals who have left their mark on the world were not handed their place. They earned it, they fought for it, they suffered for it. Their success was not the result of luck or talent alone, but of an unstoppable drive that refused to be ignored. They were willing to endure what others would not, to sacrifice comfort, to push beyond limits that seemed immovable. Forging greatness requires an obsession with improvement. It is not enough to dream or to wish for success. Those who achieve it do so because they cannot bear to remain ordinary. They push themselves beyond exhaustion, beyond frustration, beyond failure, because they know that growth lies on the other side of struggle. They understand that every hardship is a lesson, every failure a stepping stone, every setback an opportunity to rise stronger. They do not seek the easy path, for they know that ease breeds complacency, and complacency is the enemy of greatness. Those who expect greatness to be given to them will never find it. Many believe they are meant for more, that they are destined for something greater, yet they lack the resolve to fight for it. They want the rewards, but are unwilling to endure the process. They admire the discipline of others, but refuse to embrace it themselves. They crave the recognition of mastery, but do not put in the hours required to attain it. In contrast, those who forge greatness understand that every step forward must be earned. They do not wait for inspiration, nor do they depend on external validation. Their fire is internal, fueled by an unshakable belief in what they are building. The road to greatness is long and merciless, and most will not complete the journey. Many will start strong, fueled by excitement and ambition, only to falter when progress slows and obstacles mount. The difference between those who succeed and those who fall away is not talent, intelligence, or even opportunity. It is persistence. The ones who reach the highest levels are those who refuse to quit, who continue when others have stopped, who rise every time they fall. They are the ones who embrace suffering, who welcome difficulty, who see adversity not as a barrier but as a test to be overcome. Greatness is not a moment, it is a lifetime of effort. It is built in the unseen hours, in the sacrifices that others are unwilling to make, in the willingness to endure pain, repetition, and failure. It is a fire that is stoked daily, a process of refinement that never ends. Those who believe it can be given will forever remain in the shadows, waiting for something that will never come. But those who understand that greatness must be forged will step forward, take up the hammer, and shape themselves into something unstoppable.